Good morning, everyone. Well, I suppose it's been a few days now since everybody came down to earth after the weekend's football. I'm sure so many were disappointed with the outcome, although the England team have done really, really well, all things considered. What's really, really disappointing is the response to the young lads that missed those penalties. You wonder what kind of mindset is in people that want to daub walls and bring racial abuse. It's really quite unbelievable, and it shows how far our society has to go, and some of the prejudices that we and others in our society can sometimes find ourselves carrying. What's also interesting is that not only have we dealt with the weekend, but people are now starting to talk about Qatar and the World Cup and the possibilities there, and that just seems to be what happens. You go from one thing to another, so you have to try and come to terms with one disappointment, and you're not only just going through that, but there's another thing on the horizon. It often makes me think about Joseph and some of the stuff that Joseph had to deal with. He kind of finds himself absolutely gutted and disappointed because of his brother's attitudes towards him, and it leads to him being sold into slavery, and he pulls his life together and gets it back on track and becomes a person of favour, only to find that there's another hurdle and ends up in prison. And so you just find that it's one hurdle after another with Joseph, and it really is a remarkable story when you think that this is a story of someone's real life, someone's real commitment. And in many ways it can be like that for us in life. We find ourselves having just got over one disappointment when all of a sudden there's another one around the corner. It's just the way things are sometimes in life. And in those times it's important to remember the whole place of faith. Faith is trusting God. Faith is resting in God. And as we face those disappointments, there's a couple of things to remember. One of our favourite hymns when I was at Bible college was "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. New every morning." And it's really good to remember every day that God's mercies is available to us. God's love is available to us, and we can embrace it and find security within it. And not just that his mercies are new every morning and he's going to be faithful, but also that passage in Paul where Paul says, "My grace is sufficient." That whatever you encounter, whatever you come across, no matter how dark, that there in that place, God's grace is made available. And we find that in the story of Joseph, that each dark place that he finds himself in, that God meets him in that whole place of grace. We find that in the story of Daniel, thrown into the lion's den, thrown into the fiery fire before that. We find even in those places that God's grace is sufficient. And so that's my encouragement to us again this week, that whatever we're facing in life at the moment, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. And whatever we're facing at the moment, we can find even in that place a place where grace can meet us, and grace can be sufficient, and grace can help us to come through. And I suppose it's really encouraging that our society is partly coming through the pandemic. The vaccinations are going really well. But the worrying thing is that increased cases of infection are on the rise. And so the government have obviously said that as from next Monday, they will be relaxing the legal requirements for people. As a leadership, we're still working through what the implications of that are for us, so I want to ask you if you would be patient with us. What I can certainly say is that we feel that it's right to be cautious at the moment, so we're not going to be going gung-ho and putting everything back the way it was. There's going to be a period of transition. So we'll look at the government guidance this week, and we'll maybe talk about that at the church meeting next week, So I hope you'll be able to join us. Sunday we continue our series in Acts, and I'm going to be speaking about how various explosions took place as a result of the early church, and we hope that you'll be able to join us either online or together in the sanctuary. Until then, have a good week. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is His faithfulness, for He comes and says, my grace is sufficient. Have a good week. Keep trusting. Keep the faith. God bless. Bye.